Name call.
Sure, Rick Nelson from Marisol.
Donna Haber, Marisol.
Kate LaFave, Terraces, East Village. Tim Swisher, Marisol.
Linda Holland, Terraces at Celebration.
Roger Fox, Terraces at Celebration.
Mary Olson, Sienna. Marty Collins, Sienna. Motley Spring Park Terraces.
Smithy Sipes, Carlisle South.
Jesse Opelka, Second Street.
You want to do, you want to represent both or just?
I can also represent, Town Center.
Because Betty said she.
That's okay. I'll let her know. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So this is actually the biggest group we've had. We finally have representation from East Village Terraces. So thank you, Pete. And who's gonna adopt the agenda?
Yes, can I do it?
Let's see. Second?
I'll second.
Okay. Chris, you're on. Oh, wait. Yeah, you're on.
What, oh, I'm on
Second.
first? Okay. So inspection progress, as you guys know, or are well aware, now that we've just started Q4. Quarter 1, 2, and 3 inspections are complete because I do them once a quarter for all 11 condos. You guys are used to me by now. I do my absolute best to give you a 24-hour heads up when I'm coming with Q4, just starting this week because we're in the first few days of October. Everybody's due for one more for the year. Overall, if I just have to give it a blanket statement, I am extremely proud of all 11 condos. Of course, we can nitpick on stuff, but you know, it is what it is. But for 11 condominiums in this town to have cleaned up and done what they did, I am very impressed, and that is hard to do. I'm due to do Carlisle South within about a week, so just get ready for that email. I do give you guys a heads up and say, hey, I'm coming on property because that is what the HOAs wanted. I do not need, and I'm not requesting you to walk with me during those inspections. That's simply for me to go over, need to look at, to put in the letter to send you for your ongoing maintenance lists of, hey, let's work on this quarter. Let me know what you need. Let me know what you can do. And if you can't do it, let me know when we can get it done. If this is a financial thing, let's roll it into next quarter or Q1 of 2025 if it's a large bucket item. But if you don't communicate with me, I'm taking that as you're not paying attention to my inspections. So I'm going to be on you for that. If you guys shoot me back an email, Roger's very good at that. And you say, hey, Chris, we understand we got this and this, we're working on these two things, but we need more money next quarter or next year to do the massive mulching, which is one of our biggest issues. That you just got to communicate with me and you're good to go. As far as, oh, I'm going to be already. As far as other inspection progress, I'm not going to call it anybody specifically, but the larger properties, just please make sure you're on top of it. Larger properties obviously get longer letters because there's more stuff to look at. Don't forget to communicate with me. You cannot over communicate with me. I'm a talker. I would talk back and forth with you all day long. If your management companies and your CAMs need something from me, let them know they can lean on me as hard as they need to. If you do not have an enforcement policy and you have people in your condos that simply are not following rules, regulations, or just straight up giving you the bird and don't care, I want you to lean on me for the legal purposes for that. As you guys know, the Florida statute backs up our HOA. I represent that. And so if they don't comply with my letters, then we can drag them through the fining process as an individual condo owner. Does everybody understand that?
Okay,
Yes,
I didn't know that.
it's Crollo.
Chris, could I ask a question? I think the last time someone came on property, it wasn't you because you and I had met. They didn't contact our management company or us. So I don't know who it was or what happened, but I'd really like to make sure we keep that going as you and I have discussed.
Yes. I am the only person authorized to come onto your properties for inspections. We've really drawn that line. I am the condo inspector. I am the only condo inspector. With my new department head, Danica, she understands what role I take because I'm a one-off from a regular inspector. I am the NOAA inspector for the whole town, businesses, churches, schools, but I am also your inspector for that portion of PROA. Have I confused anybody?
No. I'd love to walk with you when you're at Carlisle South.
Right.
Right. And I think the last condo council meeting we had was like a long time ago at the end of April. Because there's been a lot going on, and we instructed Jeffrey at the time, who was the community manager, that when Chris is out inspecting the condos, that the board members are to be notified, because a lot of time the management companies don't notify the board members, and they're the ones that really are on the property. So they're the ones that need to know when you're coming on. So if Jacob, for the next few months, if you get an email from me, you'll know why.
Gotcha. Easy.
Yeah, and I think the condos should make sure that Chris has all the management company information. Do you have that, Chris?
Yes, I've been updating it all year long. It's probably 95% accurate. As we move forward, I will continue to shoot out emails to either the president or the management company, Cam himself, and say, hey, this is what I've got. Is this accurate? I've done that to about half of all the condos, and I feel pretty confident about the contact list now.
We have two condos that aren't here today that are self-managed, so we know that, Artisan in Georgetown. If they can just say who their management company is, just to update you, that would be great. Simple. I know, Rick, you guys are at Grand Manners. And then Linda, we're in Century,
Access,
Access. Soccer.
yeah.
Or Vista Camp.
Oh,
Brand new this year.
Vista Camp, brand new.
oh, you're not Century anymore?
No, I got rid of it.
Oh, because I kind of heard they merged with Associate.
It may have.
And
They,
who
That
you-
means associate ball.
Leland for water.
He's that type of company.
Leland?
they sent us a letter and gave us 10 days to comply. And we're tripling our
I have to
fees.
look it up.
Oh,
There you go.
So we gave them the favor.
Century?
Yeah, they gave us 10 days to comply and said they're tripling our fees or leaving. So we said, leave.
Don't let the door.
Yeah,
Yeah, really.
And to think they could have been our
I know.
celebration management company.
I know.
What is there to triple? You're the smallest condo association.
Oh, yeah. We went,
Microscopic.
oh, it's crazy. Yeah, we were going from, I think we were paying them $560 a month, and they went almost 4,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need that.
No. And there's tiny, no units in my thing, yeah, it's tiny.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
And Chris, I think we're with Access, but I think I sent you our new manager, Carlos, correct? His
Yep, I got
information.
all that.
And by the way, I just want to tell everyone, this man is phenomenal. He has done a fantastic job. Who we had before from Access, we weren't thrilled with. So we kind of changed, but it wasn't Access, it was the manager we had. And now this guy's doing a great job. And I just didn't know whether I had sent you his new contact information.
Yeah, you guys are updated.
Thank you.
That's pretty much all I have for inspection process, unless you guys have some Q&A real quick about this.
Marty, who'd you have? Access?
Yeah, we have direct access.
The only thing I gotta say is we're gonna start doing our power wash for the patio curving and, the patio curving, balcony curving and the sidewalks. Bobby said he's gonna start that next week.
So you found a safe solution that's not going to kill your landscape?
Oh, no, we're not talking about the roof.
Not the roof, just the sidewalk and the balconies?
Right, they're gonna do that, and then the roof I plan to have hopefully either January or February wrapped up. We're changing the requirement to protect this shrubbery. It shouldn't be a big deal. It's not so, for me, it's not a big deal to get something out once I know what I really want. That's the problem. So we'll definitely have that wrapped up. The roof
Nice.
next year.
So you discussed A and B?
I discussed A, I did not discuss B, quarterly walks. If you guys remember, the old department head for covenants was Natalie Delatorre. She chose to move on to another company. And she was replaced with Danica, our new department head. Natalie's the one that set up the quarterly walks. I thought I was impressed with it, but then it kind of fell apart. But if you guys are still interested in doing a quarterly walk on top of my quarterly inspections, please let me know. We will schedule that so that we can do that together with the HOA and with your CAM or with your office manager.
Can you send along her information, Chris? Her
Danica,
email?
sure, I can.
Yeah.
Of course.
Also, who's gonna talk about the CBD tree trimming?
You want to say that for last because that's the biggest one.
Okay. Okay, the legislative changes, does everybody know about the, condominium cooperative association? All the changes that are in effect this year? I think Jacob emailed the list to everyone.
Yes.
It's like, how many pages?
14 pages, 7 front and back.
It talks about everything that was,
I had a question on this set of things that maybe you guys can answer. In here,
We can't say much on it as with the condos, it has to go through your, through your
you have to go
council.
through yours.
Really, I was advised this is something that council
Right.
can, provide, but we really can't on it.
Right.
But
well, let me ask that, then can't speak on it. On one of the pages here, it talks about creating a uniform definition for hurricane protection. And I'm wondering if that means that they're pushing us all in the future to change out all the windows to hurricane windows, because I know there's that protect our homes thing a couple of years ago, which I changed my windows out. I got no money back because they only get to the coastline. But is this something, I know in the new Sears study too, we had to include windows and doors, and I didn't know if this meant
You might
moving
need to
forward.
ask your attorney that.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'll ask that.
I just wanted to make sure everybody was updated. That's why I asked Jacob to bring this.
I took a class, you know how they have those classes?
Yeah.
Class, I took one of those. And the way I took it was that they want us to do something to harden property, but I don't think they're going to the point where they're telling you exactly what to do.
Oh, perfect, okay.
Okay, and what they said about go to the attorney and do all that, that's the right way to do, but just my general feel was that, hey, we have to decide, like, we have single pane windows for our condos, the weakest thing. That's my biggest worry. I told people for this hurricane, get trash bags,
Yeah.
tape, be ready, because that's your weakest thing. If the wind goes, you're gonna wanna put cardboard up there, something, to keep that water from going down. But for us, condos, there is a rule that we're supposed to have a policy on, what do you call them? The shutters, right? For storm. Hurricane shutters. Yeah, we're supposed to have a policy. It's an old policy there. And I think that's part of this. I think they're kind of stressing, they want you to harden it. Not gonna say you gotta have
Yeah.
that you could have storm windows, and for us, that's gonna be a big decision for us, because
It's the big money.
it's a lot of money, because we only, we're planning to put in double pane windows.
Yeah.
Not storm, we have a lot, my unit alone has 14 windows. I got 99 units, so again, it's a big question mark, and what's the best way to.
Curious, who pays to have the windows replaced? Us? The
No.
homeowners?
For the terraces, hold on, for the terraces, it is the association.
Well, and
You pay for the glass,
And
I pay for the frames.
it used to be the homeowners in ours, and Julie, for yours too, probably, but
Yeah.
from the new Sears study and the things that came out with that, it looks like they're trying to switch that to the association that has to pay for the windows, and I haven't gotten anybody that's given me clarity on that yet.
Well,
Well,
that's the problem,
not
is I
to
got
interrupt you,
it from the attorney.
It is, and the way it is with ours, as far as I know, I just want to see if I could run this by you. We just had a SEER study done, and because we have hurricane-proof windows in the Carlisles, right now, they're not saying it's the responsibility of the association. We have it, and
Okay.
you have it, I know, it's the owner's responsibility for windows. Now, I think what they're going to tell us, and this may be for everyone, that the muttons, the pieces that we have on those windows, that may have to become part of the association. But I think that's something we should discuss in the future with CROA too, because those things are forever breaking off, and they look bad on the buildings, and we've had issues with them. I don't know if it's worth talking about removing them for the condos, the stripes, the stripping, because it's really expensive to do as well, especially most of us who have higher floor condos. And they had told me that that would be something that the association may have to take care of. As far as the windows, not yet.
Okay, perfect.
Still for the owners.
That's perfect.
I can
But
also
those
share-
muttons, I don't know, I'd like to know how everyone else feels about those muttons on the windows. Do you have issues with that, getting them fixed, or?
I think everybody's got issues, but the last time that we worked with CROA does not even allow you to buy windows with the muttons inside, which would seem to be the logical.
Yeah.
Logical
I-
fit. So, we're stuck with it till CROA is willing to change the rules, so,
And they're very hard to get too.
yeah.
They're
They're
very-
Well,
hard to get.
I have people that could do it, but it's not cheap, Rick, as you know. But I would think it's something we should talk to, have CROA discuss this, because it is very costly. They're not really necessary. I mean, it's only aesthetic. And if, when they start to come off, they look so bad. And then to get people to do that, it takes forever for them to fix them. So it's something maybe we should discuss with Crow about taking them off if we could, and not having to worry about at least replacing that, because it's costly. And when it isn't done, it looks terrible. Half people have them broken, some do, some don't. So maybe it's something we could discuss and see if we can, remove them, or have the owners remove them. So there's not an issue. Even as far as cleaning the windows, they become a problem.
So I'll play the devil's advocate here. Is it a requirement for a homeowner to have these on their windows?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
if we,
Depends on the style of the home.
okay,
Mhm.
so
There's always a catch.
would they even, it would probably have to, well,
Would have to-
see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to go, well, here's.
It's in the documents.
Yeah.
I had to get them on mine. I got the exterior on it, but then the interior is inside the window. So I did both on mine.
Yeah.
But yeah, they required me to get them.
So
The
it's
reasoning
something,
behind, the reasoning behind is they want them to look historically accurate.
Mhm.
And look like divided lights. And I know on Water Street, we have the exterior ones, but we have interior ones that are in between the glass. We don't,
Yeah.
inside, we don't have to clean them, but
yeah, well,
That's
if
fine.
that's-
they are a pain to take care of because they get dirty and they fall off.
I think it's something we could consider, at least the ones that are on the outside, like on the doors or something like that, because it does look terrible when you have half of them broken and half of them not. And I mean, and I understand, again, let's go back to this. I understand the historical part of it all, but we're 20 years down the road, or wherever we are now. There need to be some changes so that it could look nicer without costing a fortune, and saying, well, we still have to do the same thing we did 20 years ago. Is anybody in agreement with that?
Yeah, I think there's a good solution in between. I think we can find something.
Now, people have, and this is for all the HOA heads, people have requested from my office, hey, I want hurricane windows installed in my condo. And they have been met with, that's ridiculous, you don't need it, denied. Let you guys know, if we're going forward with this discussion, people are going to start asking for updated windows in older condo units.
Yeah, we have to vote.
Go ahead.
I don't think you should be saying anything about the condos, because what you should be saying is you have to get authority through your condo first.
Which is what we're telling them first.
Yes.
Has to be approved for that level, and then the
Yeah.
CROA level for ARC.
Because for us, the terraces, we would care less, as long as they can do it. They presented the proposal, and we make sure it goes to you to make sure we got an agreement on a policy. And my understanding, we did put in hurricane windows in one unit, right? So I know it's doable.
And it was the roll, the box setup in the frame, and it rolled. It was a steel.
Well, I'm talking about the windows, though. There was a unit, I thought we put hurricane windows.
The doctor did it on building 2.
Okay, that was way before my time.
So these muttons,
Yeah.
so they, on the building she's talking about, and on my building, they are just thin strips of plastic that
Yeah.
they semi-adhere, and those things crack and are pieces of crap. On the windows I have, they're like 45-degree angle pieces, pretty thick pieces of like PVC almost, and they're permanently adhered to the window so they don't fall off, and it's one big piece, not a couple of strips that they cut and just put up there like they do on these windows. So I think maybe in the future, if we were gonna do them again, we might want to find somebody that makes those really thick, heavy ones that permanently adhere to the window instead of the little plastic. Because the plastic ones break after a couple of years. You're right, Julie, they're terrible.
Yeah. And I tell them, I try to tell our residents they need to replace them, they need to fix them. Some do, some don't. But to me, it actually looks better now because they're older to just have them off and just have the window. Because, it's just another thing that if they fly off in the wind or something that could cause a problem and people aren't there and they don't replace them. I know someone who can do them, but it's costly. And, people don't want to be paying for it. So I just don't know where to put that. That's why I figured we should discuss it.
We had, when we started the condo council a few years ago, a vendor list. Does anybody see the benefit in redoing the vendor list? And
I think so.
I think that's a good idea.
I refer to it.
yeah,
I know when I left ARC, they were working updating the lists.
for everybody. Do you know if they have that?
We switched over, so I don't know how far it got.
We were always advised to keep our mouths closed with vendors because it's a liability,
Right.
staff versus residents.
But I'm talking about the collective condo associations.
Yeah.
If there could be,
Not necessarily vendors, but brands of windows, I think.
There's a window.
Style.
Yeah, there's an
Yeah.
approved window list.
Yeah,
Right.
right,
And then they were working on updating it because Windows styles were changing and they weren't necessarily valid. So I know they were working on that.
and the loan ratings had to be updated too.
It's currently in discussions.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
And Windows is one of those hot topics in ARC right now. We know that things need to be adjusted on
Yeah.
the window list. And that companies keep changing. That's a big thing too.
The model
Yeah,
numbers and
yeah.
styles. and
Exactly.
Manufacturing.
So my suggestion on this is if you have anything that you're wanting to look at switching out your windows, start early in a process with ARC. Especially, Windows is something that they are listening. They're listening to requests. It's not something that is a flat, because they understand people's concerns with Windows and the list is short, then they know that there's exceptions need to be made in there. So there's room for modification there. From my feeling.
Just a point of clarification, Croa did share their vendor list with everyone.
that was.
And we shared ours. And there should be no reason that Croa would refuse to do that. You get 2 to 3 years ago.
Natalie shared it. Yeah, because when Natalie was here.
Ron, Natalie,
Natalie, who was the community.
two people before him. Okay.
I think maybe the difference is us sharing could say, don't use these guys, they suck.
Oh, yeah.
Pro probably couldn't say, don't use these guys.
We
they
can't
suck."
be biased about it.
Yeah, they can't be.
And all we want is a list. Then you can make the calls and make your own decision.
And then,
I'm on the list of the people that are good. I don't care anything about the bad model.
And in reality, we might get volume pricing on certain projects. If we're strategic,
Yes,
these small associations, and we know we all need certain things done. If they're here, then they can give us a better
Yeah.
price.
Agreed, if we all plan together and said, hey, this month we all need repaving or roofs or whatever it is, you know?
I would love for us to be able to get that way.
Yeah.
I
I
think
do.
we discussed that originally, right? Trying to get
Yes.
something done collectively, whatever that would be.
Resurfacing of your parking lots, that would be a perfect one to start with.
Exactly.
Restriping, resurfacing.
They do it, I'm laughing, it's like, I must be there. It's like, oh my God. Are they resurfacing in Sienna? Who's doing that?
Not all of it, part of it.
Part of it. The ones on Celebration Boulevard, where the garages, that's what we're doing.
So I tried to put everybody, like I added a couple of more emails to that email chain. Because I feel like that email chain has everybody that's here now, because I kind of got Deborah on. Are you on the email chain?
No, you're.
All right, so I'm gonna add you to that. I think it's good, so if we continue with that email chain, and like, I remember, I think Rick was reached out one time about pool companies,
Yes.
and, I mean, we have to read it.
You got a pool, it's called that pond over there.
I mean, the simple thing is if you don't have a vendor, then just send an email out to the list and say, hey.
Oh, right.
can you help? And we've had some, in the past, when I've done that, we've had some pretty good.
Even if it's for a landscaper, or we're talking about the windows and.
Or even looking at next year's projects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're saying, we need to do resurfacing next year, does anyone else need to do resurfacing next year?
You gotta reach out, because like I reached out to Rick about his elevator companies and who does a service, and the information he gave us was very valuable. And it's turned out to be really good for us.
So that, when I get home, I'm gonna send a new email chain out to everybody. So I'm gonna copy Chris and I'm gonna copy Jacob. So people can start adding if they want, and then at one point, we'll try to I'll put it in some kind of, try to put it in format.
I can help
And
with that.
I just want to mention, when you're talking about resurfacing, we're thinking we absolutely have to do it. Now, here's the issue we have. We we take care of the parking lot. We had this agreement years ago. Chris, I told you about that. I would like to talk to some of you at some point. I'll send an email about resurfacing, because we need to take some trees down in that parking lot because they're busting up the parking lot. And I want to take them down and put crepe myrtles in. We're actually allowed to do whatever we'd like in that parking lot because it is owned and taken care of kind of by us. But this is what I wanted to run by you. And I told Chris I might take this to CCDD. We're always complaining about parking in town, always, for all of us. I'm thinking going to CCDD and seeing, can we turn our parking lot at the Carlisle North to Celebration residents only, because it's still a public parking lot. It would it would benefit us because we have so many people coming in from Columbia. We haven't had real issues, but we've had to tow some cars, and unfortunately they towed some wrong cars. But I'd like to talk about turning that parking lot into a Celebration resident only, to give the residents the opportunity to park in our lot for when there's functions, rather than have all these Columbia people in, or guests out of town coming in, when we maintain and pay for the parking lot.
Who do they have to go to that?
I was getting ready to say, what would it take to do that? Because we all register our cars for residents here, so it's the
Right.
spot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but if,
So it
If
would
that-
be,
if it's mandatory that you have to keep it open, who's telling you have to keep it public?
That was,
No,
that
it's
was
not.
when Carlisle was built,
Yeah,
that was the agreement with the CCDD.
so we
That
just,
parking lot would be a public parking lot.
right, so she has
just
to.
that
go to
one, just
CPD.
that side though, Rick, just that one side where we are, not the other. So my
I'd love to do
point
the
is-
same thing as Carlisle South.
Julie, that's not correct. The whole lot.
Yeah.
Carl, we took the position that back lot wasn't really involved, but it is. It's clearly all public parking.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I did get a description of all that recently, and what it shows is just the parking lot near Columbia. But my point is that was the agreement 20 years ago. Here we go again. with CCDD, but we maintain and we pay for everything that gets done in that parking lot. So I'd like to go back to CCDD, and I did talk to Jack one time about it, and I've also just told Chris about it. I'm wondering if there's a way we can do that. What you do is we would have the parking, what do you call that, little sticker saying that you're a resident. And then we would have our own sticker saying it's Carlisle, North. But I would think that it would be advantageous to the community so that when they come down, people come down, they could use that. Why would we leave that public still if
I
CCDD would
think,
approve it?
Julie, I think you're going to have to go to the CDD
Right.
meeting
Right.
and you're going to have to plead your case with them.
That's what I
because
intend to do.
They're the only ones that can.
Sounds
Right.
good. Sounds very.
But I'd
So,
like
so
to-
Julie, we have the same problem at Carlisle South. There's no parking and CCDD owns that parking lot in the back. And just so everybody knows here, because it was not made public, that $40 million bond they were trying to pass was not only to build the new community center, but to build a parking garage
Yes.
behind Stetson. And it was going to be a paid parking garage. So that means that no resident at Carlisle South would have a parking spot anymore. They'd have to pay every day for a parking spot.
Right.
They didn't make that public because they wanted that passed, but
Right.
there's a lot of challenges with CCDD and parking. And I mean, I
Well,
get it. Where else is the public going to park, but it
Yeah,
does.
but I think
There were a few residents that backed up that plan too. They'd be an earful.
I'm sorry, I can't hear. There's something else going on. I don't know what's happening. I hear a bunch of people. But no, my point was I know your lot is CCDD. Ours, actually, we maintain it and can do what we want in that lot. And Chris knows that. But what I'm saying is for the good of the community, I think it's about time that we go in front of CCDD with all the money that we pay and say, listen, this should be for the residents of Celebration, not for Columbia, not for whoever's on your side over there. Get these parking lots for the residents. And I'd like the backing of the council if I do this. I'm wondering if we can get that done. I think it's terrible that,
I'm
it
with you.
shouldn't be
I
used
said we
for
do it for both
residents.
parking lots and I'm with you.
Yeah. And
That would
this
definitely
way,
help.
when the residents want to come down, they have somewhere to park. It's crazy that all of these strangers or Columbia be there all day long,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to bring that up to you guys when you're talking about resurfacing, because we're going to have to do it too. And I would like to see if maybe we can get together as, whoever needs it, maybe we could get a better price for all of that.
Why doesn't CDD resurface it?
They do not, that's my point. They do not and will not take the responsibility like the trees for that parking lot. And that is ridiculous. We've already done it twice. So they don't want the responsibility. Well, fine. If you don't want the responsibility, I pay Bobby to clean it. I pay to maintain it. We pay to have it all taken care of. Then that should be our parking lot to use for residents of Celebration.
Okay, let's go to the meeting when you're here, the last Tuesday of the month.
Okay, I'm back in November for a month. I don't know if we can get it together by then, but at least by January. Because I really feel it's a disservice to all the people in Celebration that everyone else should use those lots.
Agreed.
Or maybe we can can we have a CD? So can we ask them to come back to one of our meetings?
Jack was at the last one.
Jack is not opposed to it from what I understand.
That's
when
who
I
we
spoke
had.
with him. Yeah, Jack was not, he understood it.
Might
And,
be better going to the meeting.
I
It
think
might
so.
be, because when they're sitting here, they can't speak
Yeah.
and authorize anything.
Very, very honestly, this is a limited issue. I think what Carlisle needs to do is to go directly to CCDD and present it to them.
We
Yeah.
are.
I think going to a meeting is useless because people.
Well, you have to go to the CDD meeting.
Well, I mean, at the meeting though, they're gonna say, well, give us a proposal. So give them a
Right.
proposal and
Yeah,
then
Julie.
you can
Yeah.
follow up at the meeting.
Yeah, I agree with Rick. I think we should go directly to CCDD, have a meeting with the CCDD one-on-one to discuss it.
Julia,
But-
I think what they're gonna come back with is they're gonna say, well, CDD is public and we have to use everything as public property. But there may be a compromise in there where they can say, okay, we'll designate these as public and then the
Mhm.
rest of it is you.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe
that's
that's-
what we have. Right now, I'm telling you, Rick, I know what you're saying, but when I pulled the paperwork and had it all out, it designates the spots only in that parking lot, not the other.
Oh, we have
section,
none.
You know,
They
so
don't
I
designate
think,
any for us.
again, I think it's an old rule. I think we should go with the good. I'm not talking about it just for us because we have garages and we have at night, we don't have an issue because Columbia leaves. But for people in celebration, when you have these lakeside affairs and our residents can't park because Columbia and guests are in there all day long, doesn't make sense to me. It just hasn't. So I just thought I will go to CCDD and bring it up. I just want to, also have the council under, maybe a backup on this and Crow.
We have the same problem at Christmas. We have a ton of handicapped residents that can't even get to their homes because they can't park and walk.
That's right. So
Yeah.
maybe Chris, it's something we could discuss and then go to, definitely I'm going to go to CCDD about it.
Well, for people who have been here, obviously a lot longer than I have, do you guys remember the parking lot or parking garage committee? There was a thing back in the day. Does anybody remember?
Rick, do you know that? Tim?
No,
I do know that there was a
I
thing.
spoke to a couple ladies that were on it. They want to resurrect it. And this is for the whole town.
And what do they want to do?
Resurrect the parking lot, parking garage committee. It may have been short-lived. Yeah. It was
I've
a
never
committee
heard of
that
it. I
did
don't-
parking lots and parking garages, but it was a committee that had a short life and they want to bring it back.
The only place to put it is where I am. We don't want it.
right.
See, that's the problem. Nobody's gonna want it where their place is.
Yeah, because all you're doing is bringing in too many people to walk right through our place.
The only thing that worries me is the weight of them,
Yeah.
because we're still built on swampland.
Yeah.
And that's why we're glad to take it over and have it be our own parking lot. We're glad to have that. But I do think that, as far as your side, it is more difficult and it's something we have to get to CCDD.
Julie, maybe you could start off by sending the CDD an email,
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
requesting what you want, and then if they can get it on the agenda, right? That
Yeah, but
might
I
be a
think
good
Rick is
spot.
right. I think Rick is right. It's better if I go first, just from our point of view of it personally. And then if need be, we could take it from there.
Okay.
Go to the meeting first, because if you send an email first, you'll hear crickets. Just like-
Same as we call.
Yeah, but then you got your email, and you could say,
Yeah, always get
Send you
your
the
secret
email.
paper trail, always.
I didn't get a response.
So
I'm
far.
gonna let town center know too, because they're always
Okay.
struggling for parking.
Oh, yeah, I know, especially now with the holidays
Yeah.
coming.
Well, especially now that my office is in downtown, because I will have the sheriff ticket people directly like I did today.
Backwards?
Town center though is under,
Locking and fire hydrant.
that's still in place, right? It's not CCDD.
Yeah, and we don't have any parking.
Yeah.
There's no
that's not-
designated parking. We used to park Carlisle is.
I remember that.
It was
Uh,
our overflow.
Do you have any problems down in East Village that you want to talk about?
Problems?
Yeah.
Well, we got all kinds of problems, that's similar problems here and here. You work far enough out of downtown, we don't really have parking issues. No one's gonna want to park up there. But yeah, definitely the windows thing, we're going through that. I mean, the direction we're ending is to make that part of the reserve and reserve for replacing the windows. I mean, we'll see. Everyone's all enthused about it, but until they get the quarterly, that's quite pricey. But both at the same window too.
Yes, I was thinking the same.
Yeah, the PDT.
So, when we came in here also, I mentioned what is that? I don't know if everybody on
Transparency Act.
what the Transparency Act, are you all aware of that? Rick, are you aware of that? Are you aware of the Transparency Act that you have to supply your license to the? You all aware of that?
Work with-
No. What is that, Celia?
Are you aware of
What we into?
That's it.
it?
Yeah, we're aware of that. I think we're,
Yeah, and it's in the document that was sent
So are you gonna-
out. So if you read the document,
You're gonna have that
the article, I mean, very honestly, everybody's attorneys.
The full Patriot Act, right?
Transparency, yeah.
That's what we're gonna, that's what Linda and I, just give it to them. Let them do all the paperwork this first year. We can always dump.
Yeah, it takes 5 minutes to get a FinCEN ID, but you're not, it's giving that ID.
I could have sworn it was full
If you're
Patriot.
gonna go out and replace
Full
it, just let me know.
transparency.
So if you have to say,
Thank you, Jacob.
Yeah, I would like to
It's so transparent, we can't find it.
have a conversation.
I'm surprised your management company didn't send you, an email.
I knew.
Because Grand managed sent
Got
board
the man
members
Yeah.
an email.
See what I do if I look,
And I did ask.
they look better
The
than.
meeting.
That's what my part-time job, I didn't heard on them every week.
Well, Linda, you know, the chairman, should say,
Or maybe it could be
our
all
thing,
things.
so we should make sure.
Can we go on to the tree trimming?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Because we have 10 minutes left.
Okay, so do you want to start off with the rule or do you want me to say it?
The rule,
The CDD rule, this is from 2 summers ago. This is on the CDD website. I had to find it to send it to Water Street Condos in the past 2 weeks. So, and this is straight from the CDD board's mouth as well. I got wind of last summer, so we're talking just over a year. The Celebration Community Development District will no longer trim trees over the sidewalks, easements, or private properties that head towards your buildings. They will not cut them. They will not trim them. They will only trim an easement tree in the easement, not a private property tree, an easement tree that only hangs over the street. And they're not even doing that. Excuse me. That's really stuck in my crawl. So they will not do it.
so just to be clear, so what, Santa's supposed to trim one side of the tree and CCD
Yep.
is gonna.
Correct.
Wow, that's gonna look really great.
You got it.
Well, it's also a huge liability.
You got it.
So can I speak to this? Because I'm the one that put it on the thing. So back in around 2016, 2017 is when this first came up and got passed.
Yes.
It wasn't enforced until a couple of years ago, and they've changed the law 3 times since. So the way that was first enforced, they would still have to cut the tree if it was heading towards an object, a stationary object.
Is it the building a stationary object?
Well, that's when I went in and this is a couple years ago, I went in for one of my groups to have the trees cut and they changed the law because of us and said that a stationary object is not a building, but it is a street light. And I said, well, why did you not call it a street light?
Mhm.
So then the law changed one more time. And since then, my condo association has had to pay this year $12,000 to cut one side of the trees. Now, on purpose, I cut those very close to the tree because I was pissed off at CCDD and I wanted them to come back and tell me that I cut them too close. The rest of the rule also is if you have a person that cuts the tree, they're not a licensed arborist or they are an arborist and the tree dies, you're responsible for replanting that tree plus $1,000 fine plus legal fees to CCDD. So there's a challenge for having the CCDD, Julie, not only on the streets and everything else, but we're paying them to cut this stuff. They keep changing the laws so that they have less and less responsibility and keep increasing our fees. I personally think that we need to push back and tell them they need to cut their own tree. It's not our tree.
And so
We've
far,
tried
everybody who has tried to push back on the Canoa side, unfortunately, they've all lost. And I mean Lexington too.
Yeah.
Lexington even lost.
I
Well,
have,
but
I have
We've
residents.
tried that.
Yeah.
It
Trees.
didn't work. We tried it
Ah.
twice to push back on them. It didn't work. We had to pay for as well. It's cost us well over $20,000 within the last so many years. But that's what happens. Now what I tell them is, then I don't want to hear anything they have to say about trees. We cut them back because we were getting mold on the buildings and everything else. So I just cut them back as far as we can. But we told them and they pushed back on it to your point and said, no, absolutely. It's up to us. But if those trees die, there is something that someone was telling me, there is something that we could go back to them if they died that we don't have to put that tree back to their specifications now. So there's something new going on. I don't know what they're doing with that, but it's actually better in a way if we keep it to ourselves and pay for it, because then you can control how it works on your own buildings for mold or whatever you want to do. But the problem is that we're paying the fees, and what are we getting for it? What are they going to do in return if that's the case?
Eventually, these trees are, I call the biggest trees in town, the celebration trees. Because I've noticed Disney did build around some trees, they didn't level everything. So with these trees, over the next few years, as you guys continue to be responsible in trimming them away from your building, by the way, yours look fantastic, and I've noticed it's changed your landscape.
Yes, it has.
Now you have pockets of sunshine coming down, growing your grass again.
Yes.
Exactly.
So as we roll through the years with this, the tree, if they don't pick up the slack on their side, that tree is now going to be susceptible for a massive weight on one side, and it's going to take one hurricane to take it out, and then you're in the clear, because guess where it's going to fall?
In the street.
And they are going to replace trees that are damaged by hurricanes. That's a given. They always have.
But
And Chris,
eventually, that's gonna come back on us. Oh, we need to put these trees back in. Oh, we're gonna increase your dues again. I mean, isn't there something?
It's a vicious circle.
Can we do something, Chris, as a community, especially, I think everybody in this room knows from the CSRS report, we are having to hit up our homeowners with humongous increases in HOAs. And this is when this is when CCDD decides that they're gonna be hard asses, excuse my language, and we're gonna stick it to you guys some more. We don't have the money for all of that.
I was gonna ask, if Lexion went in and Canoa went in and we went in and we had some other people go in, like eventually,
Your resident,
This is
single
a
family.
tree for
Like,
everybody.
Issues.
like eventually we're gonna all be there together saying, hey, look, guys,
So the rule still applies to individual homeowners too.
And individual homeowners, I mean, I have issues where
Yeah.
they will, delivery services are not delivering to their streets because of
Yeah.
the trees.
Mhm.
I can press as hard as I can on
Yeah,
CDD,
you
but it's
can't
not
nothing.
much more. According to their verbiage on their website, the homeowner can do pruning even on the street side as long as it's proper pruning practices are used. Right.
I'll send you that addendum that gives you where they charge you for it.
If they, yeah.
It's not on here, but there is an addendum.
Yeah. The other problem,
It's, I'm just sharing that your frustrations are echoed across the entire community.
I know
From a business standpoint that deals with trees on a daily basis with contracts, it is a capital expense. It's something you do on a yearly basis.
Yep.
And you plan it out over a huge area. So I don't understand how we can't partner and say, okay, in this quarter or this year, we're gonna be sweeping this street, and that homeowner or condo owner or association partners the expense, and you get one vendor to do the tree properly.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
let's
if
use
everybody-
common sense and say, because we have budgets, we have tree budgets. Since I've been there, we've worked on trees. We've touched trees that do not belong to us because we knew they weren't gonna do it. And I wasn't gonna sidewall a tree that's gonna potentially take out our residents' cars. And I don't want anyone dying on my watch, knowing that that is a huge hazard. So we need an urban forester to back us and get some common sense. And we have homeowners very willing to pay whatever, but why am I hiring a contractor and they hire a contractor and we do it not at the same time? And they don't even follow a good policy. They have good vendors and bad vendors. We had a vendor come with head shears and sidewall a tree, and he was on a lift by himself with no spotter, no safety protocol whatsoever. After I saw that, guess what? That tree was included in our next walk. We took care of the tree. And then CCD came back and trimmed that tree 2 months later down the street when they said they didn't have the budget, they weren't touching that street. So they were already having to spend the money. They need to plan it out systematically and share the cost with a homeowner or an association. That is common sense. We all want the trees. We don't want dead trees. What they're doing is actually hurting everybody.
Or how about this?
We're not opposed to spending money on it.
Our office asked them for their tree trimming schedule and they never gave it to us. And we've asked
Correct.
multiple
Was
times.
it even budgeted? They didn't even have it in their budget for many years.
We-
So
They could just hire people that all they do is trim trees for forever, be on the payroll for CCDD, and it'd be cheaper than
they
having
would
tree
be
trim.
so much cheaper.
Sure, like the
Can I,
Yeah.
can I just want to interject one other thing. We're talking about this, but let me give you one of the biggest issues CCDD will not take care of and why. Those roots, as we all know, on those trees are ruining the entire celebration. Now, that plant out that was done by Disney was fine for everywhere there weren't houses or condos. But now it's overdone and overkill. So they have had so many issues. As you know, I took them down. We got them down on Front Street because we had 2 properties have pipe damage. We just replaced 3 pipes in the parking lot because of tree root damage. These trees need to come out every other one and put in a different type of tree. They don't want to pay for it. They don't want to take the responsibility. It's not just the trimming. The roots of these trees are ruining all of our properties. I don't know how much you can see of it, but you will, because we've seen it many, many times. And I've already told them, if I have issues again like that, where somebody's pipe is burst on the first floor or whatever, I'm getting the trees cut. End of the story. Because we pay too much money and they take no responsibility. Trimming is one thing, but the roots are ruining all of these condominiums. I'm telling you. That's why it's all the concrete is broken. We constantly have to have them come and fix the concrete. They don't even want to do that. And I've called them a million times. I make them come down, but it's a fight because of those roots of those trees. Now, of course, we can't take down every tree. It's impossible, nor would we want to. But maybe they have to consider when this happens with these trees, putting in a different type of tree. You don't see East Lawn with those trees. You don't see a lot of it in Arcadia. Let's talk about where the trees are that are the right trees and everyone else has the wrong. In Carlisle, they left those trees up while those buildings were being built. They should have been taken down and corrected, and they didn't. Those roots, when we took up our sidewalk, we had our roofs done. You wouldn't believe how far under the property those roots go, and we all have that issue. Everybody.
Julie, I don't know if you heard the meeting, but I went to the last CCDD meeting because, they're raising our fees enormously. And it was all about replacing sidewalks because we're getting all these lawsuits from the sidewalks.
Right.
And so you were there. And so, they're doing North Village right now, and they were talking about how the trees in North Village, they can cut the roots on, and they're gonna start in the main village next year, and they said when they get to Water Street, every one of those trees has to come out, because those trees, the roots you can't cut for some reason, sycamore
Yeah.
trees. But the other trees, so I guess Water Street's gonna have tiny trees again. And the rest of them, the other oaks that are everywhere else are gonna cut and put in new sidewalk.
And what
But
did they
it's-
do? They put the same trees in Island Village. Was that ridiculous? They're gonna have that
Yeah.
problem
They-
again.
Run up this.
I just want to be cautious of our time. Do we have any other topics that we want to cover in our last couple of
Let me
minutes?
make a comment about this real quick. Isn't the solution to get the right director selected?
I
Yeah,
agree.
Yes.
That's the damn solution.
Clean
That's
house
right.
is going.
That's
That's
exactly
right.
right.
absolutely.
I have
I don't know, what happened this election? They're running uncontested.
We
Yeah,
gotta get these.
running uncontested, when you have
Yeah.
nobody running against you.
Yeah, but the CCDD is an entity. Who's above them? If you're not getting, like anything else, if you don't get support, you go to the supervisor. So are they their own entity and they don't respond to the county codes? They don't respond to, for example, if you got a street and the street,
Peggy, Sharon. Peggy.
well, that's who you need to talk to.
Against her.
I wouldn't waste my time calling CCDD. You're saying no, or you,
I'm in agreement with you.
okay. I mean, the deal is you take a picture and say, I can't get them to cut the trees. I believe the code is for fire and safety and whatever, they need to come down here. We have a big problem here. And can you come down and maybe talk to these bozos and say, I shouldn't call them bozos. They probably have a really rough thing. But you're supposed to take care of safety. That's the primary thing. You just, and they need to do their job. But if they're not going to do their job, then you need to go to somebody above. And then the other thing is, do you really want to fight with them on that? Because the easy thing is call somebody from the TV station. They would love to have a nice story about, hey, Celebration's having trouble because their CCDD won't cut trees. It will, one interview like that, I'll guarantee you, they'll get on their ass and go do something.
And I agree with you, Roger, but also remember, we don't want them to just take the control like they had, where they only cut them once every 10 years. It has to be constantly maintained, and they
Yes.
won't do it. That's the problem. If they take it back, they'll say, okay, we'll cut them, and they'll do them every 10 years, and then we'll still have an issue. It's really got to be put together, as you're saying, with, we called the county about it at one point, and they said, no, that was CCDD's situation. It was not for the county. And I couldn't understand that. I called Osceola County about it. So, but.
All right, well, I think
Okay.
the problem here is people need, there's 13, 11 associations. 2 aren't here right now, but if everybody goes and,
Yeah.
and says, we're all going, instead of having, sitting here and having a condo council meeting, we should just show up at one of their meetings
Yeah.
and talk.
Absolutely.
Agree,
About-
agree.
We can all plan the one to go to and all go together.
That's right. That's what I suggested before.
You know,
but
and then we bring up, she can bring up the trees, the
Parking.
the street. You guys had issues with them, who's picking up the leaves from the trees that are falling? And see, just
They're,
plant the seed in their head that,
Okay.
they're landscapers blowing leaves back into private property, because I know CN is fighting that, Water Street fights that.
yeah. And I
You're
expect
creating
that.
a scene, right? You're creating a.
I'm going to send everyone, this won't involve Jacob, it won't involve Chris, it'll just involve, have your owners come too. I mean, they filled up the CDD room with the $40 million bond. We always say that there's so many condo owners in this community. Let's show them how many there are. So,
Yeah.
anyway, in interest of time, because this room is having another meeting, is everybody okay? Roger,
I just have a question. How is the insurance going with you guys?
the who?
The insurance. See, before the hurricane came, my insurance was gonna go down 6%. But I'm kind of looking I just put out a budget. I'm not so sure the budget's gonna hold because I'm afraid with the rate. So are the rates going up for you guys or are they going down? I mean,
And I just renewed with Shire, but I had to have an emergency meeting before it was a named hurricane, or I could not have a solidified pitch.
Like-
So at the 11th hour, we were meeting, we chose the options they gave us, we had already prepared and gone over, but we did pay a little less this year.
But you negotiated down on the coverage.
But the key at Mirasol, quite honestly though, was we had probably a fourth of our buildings re-roofed. We've now had our main building re-roofed, so we just have a small portion of our buildings that haven't been re-roofed. And they actually left out, I think the policy, we have a carport. The insurance carriers insisted that not be part of, so they're not going to cover that. But the key is to have your roofs done. If they're 20 years old, you've got an insurance problem, and the insurance carriers are going to just keep jacking.
Wind mitigation, a discount is enough motivation, I think, for the insurance premium to get her done.
I've been trying to get that and I got 3 buildings that people won't let me into and they don't give us keys. And so I can't get in to get the roof in those 3 damn buildings.
Well, I understand. The way that
You know what you can do, you can have a locksmith come in and take.
I guess I could, yeah.
Yeah, we've done that. I mean, you have the right to get in. If they don't give you a key and get
Yeah.
a locksmith, change the lock.
You gotta give it-
People come and pay.
Yeah,
Letter.
we've done that as well. We've done that. We just make Bobby go in and we get the locksmith and get in there. You could do that.
did ours, I only had to get into one roof in one building. I didn't have to get in all of them.
Oh, send me your one dedication guy, because
That'll be part of, that'll be a good clue.
I can do that.
Let me
That'd be great.
get everybody's
I can do that.
emails together and you can start shooting each other emails.
And he's very good on the reports. He did our carports. He does great
That's
pictures.
perfect.
I can give you samples and you can look at.
So-
Yeah, anything else?
So that-
Guy.
We get Johnny.
No, we didn't.
Let's start and share this.
Motion, German,
Oh my-
who made it? Marty? And Jesse Rich. Okay.
Thank you again, Celia and Chris and everyone. Thank you for this meeting.
So we're in October, November.
Thank you.
January?
We'll have a meeting in the beginning of January.
Okay.
That'll probably be my last meeting. So hopefully there'll be a board member that will take on the condo council because like I
Whoever
said,
takes your place, has to live in a condo, put it that way.
seriously, I mean, it used to be like 43% of condo owners, but because Island Village had dropped the percentage down. But if you think about it,
There's a lot.
there's a lot of condo owners. And it's good that everybody meets once in a while. So I'll try to set something up for January.
Thank you, Celia. Thank you,
Thank
Chris.
you, Julie.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Nice to see you.
All right.